Hello. I am hopefully going to do a pretty bloom on this 10-inch MDF, and I'm going to show you the colors. And I didn't really have a very big plan other than I'm still trying to use up paint. So I went and pulled some that are almost empty and some that were not necessarily as old. So that's kind of my master plan. So if you saw some of my recent blooms, you would see that I have been practicing relaxing my mouth a little bit when I do my blow to try to be more aware of not, I guess the right word is pursing my lips so much to make the blow too narrow. So that's what I'm going to do. The difficulty is I'm like a glutton for punishment, and I find all these paints that are older, and so they're not fresh, and so they're thicker, and that makes it even harder to blow. So we're going to start by using up the rest of Beach House Blue because it's almost empty. So that's going to be drizzled near the bottom, and I brought some other colors over here, but I may have too much color once I use this one up to incorporate, but we'll see. So, but yay, I used that one. Probably kind of all over the place. So I literally just grabbed a whole bunch of stuff that probably doesn't even go together, and it's probably too many colors, but that's okay. We're gonna just figure it out. So this color is Tiger Lily, and this is from Colourarte. So is Beach House Blue, by the way. And this color is one of the frosted sorbet colors, which means it's going to have kind of a frosty undertone, and it's going to have very sparkly particulates, so it's going to be a very sparkly pigment. And I had brought another one of those colors over here, which is Cherry Sorbet, but I may be overly ambitious if I use it. Plus it's really still very thick, but let me show it to you. It's really pretty. Maybe what we'll do is just very thinly drizzle it, because I just watered it down with some Sonja, and it's still really thick, and I'm afraid if I keep that trajectory going, I'm gonna have some problems. So, and I already have a lot of paint, and I haven't even gotten to my actual like paint colors yet. So let me not get too crazy. So I only have a couple of like flat colors, which is Holbein Shadow Green and Blue Black, and I'm just going to drizzle those up toward the top. I'm going to use, this is also just been thinned down. This is Deep Amethyst from Colourarte Prism Pour. I'm just going to drizzle this one because it's just recently thinned down, so it's going to be very bubbly, and it's still too thick, as you can probably tell, because it's not drizzling. So I better not get too crazy with that one. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is just grabbing random colors. Some of these are more thick and difficult to work with than others. But yeah. But my hope was, let me zoom you in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. My hope was that I would have a nice pop of sparklies in the middle, have a couple of pretty colors, and then a couple of tube paints. This is Dark Waters. This is also Prism Pour color. It's also a wee bit thick, so I might be shooting myself in the foot in a major way. I really need to thin this down more than I did. Hopefully this isn't a flop, because paint this thick is not a great deal. All right, this is another color I recently thinned out. This is Forbidden Ruin from Colourarte. This is made in a Bling It, like regular mica powder. It's also a Prism Pour color. I'm not sure which one this one is because it's been in there a while. It's a beautiful like orangey coppery color. I love this color, and I love Ember Fire. So just figured that would be really cool. Also too thick, but here we are. I thought about using a black and white Cell Activator, but I think I've got too much going on. All right, so Shadow Green from Holbein. It's just a nice, deep, rich green. So we're gonna drizzle our tube paint colors. When I say tube paint, I really just mean like not sparkly, not pigment. This one actually is from a tube, but the blue-black is a fluid. And the blue-black is Colourarte Vivid Intense blue-black, so it's a fluid acrylic. Don't forget, I'm using a lot of Colourarte today. That shadow green makes that look weird, but it'll look pretty later on, I think. It just looks a little too army green in the view we're having right now. Anyway, blue-black is one of my favorite colors, and you can save 20% on anything on the Colourarte website using Mandy1120. I'm also going to use Australian Floetrol in my Cell Activator, and you can save 10% off of Australian Floetrol with Mandy 10 all caps from Pixel Paint Designs. Oh, I was going to use a boom gel. I even brought it out here. Too late now. I guess I still could use it. I think we have enough going on, perhaps. But I even went and picked one out. Should we use it? No, I think we may have too much going on and so many bubbles. So right about now you might be thinking, what the heck was she thinking with this color combination? And you know, you might be right. I might be thinking that if I was watching the video too. So my Cell Activator is mixed with M-gram, excuse me, titanium white and Australian Floetrol. It's a tad thick, but I think I can make it work. M-gram paint I get from Blick, but you can also use Amsterdam. I get those kinds of things, including canvases and stuff like that, from Blick, and I do have a link for Blick in my description box. There's no special discount, but if you shop through the link, it helps our channel and helps us make videos. All right, there's a bunch of bubbles, unfortunately. Okay, now I need to remember to focus on what I'm doing when I blow. And if you guys are already like blowing bloom experts, and you're like, duh, we knew that like 8,000 years ago, then that's wonderful. But I'm still probably going to explain the process because it was definitely a self-awareness moment for me. All right. This is too thick. It's still probably going to work, but because my paint is so thick, it's going to be challenging. And that's too much too, so we'll see. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. So I am going to purse my lips a little bit to stretch this out. Uh-oh. What a mess. Okay, lightheaded. That was really difficult. And again, a lot of that's my fault because my paints are too thick, so I'm having to like chase the bloom around just to get the Cell Activator to move. So as a result, I definitely have some funny stuff in here, and I have some pockets of Cell Activator that are a little bit too crazy. But I'm also learning sometimes when I hypercorrect those pockets of Cell Activator, I drive color our Cell Activator into the color, and so then as it dries, it creates these weird looking things. So this may be a total bust, but let's spin it out and see. It's not moving in unison. I think we have enough coverage where we don't have to so much worry about the edges, but there's some funkiness going on here. So I really did pick colors that kind of make mud on their own. So if you guys were concerned about my decision making, you probably weren't entirely wrong. But sometimes you just take a chance. Some of the best combinations I've ever come up with were like super, like, this is going to be a disgusting fail kind of things to start off with. So you never really know. This part is bothering me. I really think I just have too much going on with this, but and it's off center and not moving at the same time. So why don't I just kind of fix that first? So I moved it toward the center, or toward the edge where it's furthest away to try to help it. The fact that my Cell Activator was a little thick would normally work in our favor as far as holding up the cell structure, but because I made some pretty critical errors along the way, I'm not sure how it's going to go here. But if it's a fail, we'll just maybe go again. I'm not sure. Like, part of it's really cool looking, and part of it I'm like, eh. But we're gonna give it a chance. We're gonna spin it out. Like this part, you see this part? That's beautiful. It's gonna go over the edge. This part's gonna go over the edge. So one of the bad things when you use too much paint is you lose stuff like that, because everything goes over the edge, you know? And because you're using so many colors, they're so saturated that you don't get as much of that cool, like almost like a butterfly wing effect that you get when you don't overdo it with the paint. So, you know, it has its ups and downs. All right, let's put it back toward the center. And I don't know, I think the problem is I came over here with the dark waters and the deep amethyst and the forbidden ruin and thought that'll look cool. And then I was like, well, but I also need to use this, and I also need to use this, and it'd be cool if we had some really sparkling color underneath it, which all that is true, but I think I kind of needed to do one or the other, and maybe not all the things in one bloom. You know what I mean? And I have so much paint on me, and I really need to use my hand, so I need to ditch that glove. And I'm trying to find a way to let it live. You can see how much prettier of a color the shadow green is after it stretches out. And when you first mix it, it just looks like an ugly green. Maybe it's like nickel azo gold, where everybody's like, this color is hideous. And then you use it in something and you're like, oh, it's really kind of amazing. And it is. But by itself, it's like, why, you know? By the way, if you're sad because Golden is getting rid of nickel azo gold, Colourarte has a nickel azo gold in the Vivid Intense line, and it's quite beautiful. So if you're feeling down about Golden doing that to you, just want to let you know you have options. And I've used it in blooms, and it's quite lovely. Okay, so I kind of need my glove back now. It's hard to spin with your left hand. Okay, so there's a lot that I like about this, but I'm really leaning toward redoing it, or just doing another one and seeing if this one lives, you know? I don't like the composition. I like some of the colors. Even, I kind of want to go again and just use that tiger lily at the bottom. And the Prism Pour colors, a little bit of the Forbidden Ruin, and and the colors on the top. However, part of the problem that we ran into this time is all of those paints are thick. And if we go again, we could have the same composition problem that we have now because of thick paint. So that may not solve any of our problems. But this right here, I could just tell, like there's so much I love about this, like this, that I would like to see on another bloom, and I would like to see it, I'd like to see less color and more of that. But the problem is that in order for us to get there with this one, I'm gonna have to thin out these paints now, and we're gonna have a ton of bubbles, but it might be worth it for funsies. But there's just so much about this composition that's messy to me that I don't like. So we're gonna go again. Okay, so I tried to be really conservative, and I tried to scoop up all my paint into this cup so I could use it again later. I made the biggest mess ever, so just know that I tried. Okay, let's do this again. I might have had better luck if I wasn't so covered in paint already. This is off center. Whatever, it's stuck. So we'll deal with it. All right. We obviously are not going to use Beach House Blue this time because we finished it. We're going to use Tiger Lily on the bottom. We're going to skip the Cherry Sorbet. And I'm going to use up all of this paint. So that's good. Sort of. And I'm going to use the Dark Waters, the Deep Amethyst, and the Shadow Green and the Blue Black, maybe a little bit of Forbidden Ruin, maybe not as much as the last time. So this is probably more pillow paint than we need, but because it's kind of thick, I'm just still going to do this to help it get closer to the edge so it's not working so hard. And I have some pillow paint on my spinner still. Hey, and on my table. Well, on the puppy pad on the table. All right. I really hope this goes better. Let me clean my hands. I also briefly pondered switching to black Cell Activator and adding some cobalt teal for some contrast. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm tempted to thin out my white Cell Activator, but I think I can make it work. So while I paused you guys, I thinned down my colors a little bit more. And I whacked them on the table a little bit to try to get rid of the bubbles, but I can't make a whole lot of noise because my husband's taking a test. I don't want to be that person, you know what I mean? So Tiger Lily, so pretty. I also really love Buttercup, which is a little bit more of a pale yellow than this. Very sparkly like this one though. That one probably still has another bloom in it. All right, Dark Waters next. Still a little thick, but I did thin it down. Oh my gosh, it's still very thick. Like when I'm not on camera, it drizzles fine, and then I go to use it and it's like blop. Like so, it's not thin enough. Okay. So to thin down my paints, most of the time I use Jo Sonja. It is going to introduce some bubbles. The other thing I usually do, which I learned from Shelly, is I keep like an old Jo Sonja bottle that has about 3/4 Jo Sonja and 1/4 water, because sometimes you just need a little bit of water. But that's only when paints are really thick, and I'll use that to loosen it up. Okay, this is a little bit better. Feels like there's like globbies in there that are still thick. But it's better. Anyway, I learned that from Shelly. I have taken the course, by the way, and if you are interested in learning about blooms, I have a discount code in the description box. I do think the course is worth taking. Can you learn blooms without it? Sure. But they're hard, and you learn a lot from other people, and depending on your part of the world and all that jazz, sometimes it's really nice to interact with the people who have taken the course and learned with you. Plus they redid the course, so there's a whole lot more stuff in it than there was before. But it's in the description box all the time, so if you ever are interested, it's there, along with a lot of stuff. I have a bloom mixing tutorial where I show you colors, not colors, but ingredients that I've used for the bloom in the past. They may not be the same things I use now, but it helps give you a baseline. Maybe I should do another mixing video now that I use Bear Dynasty more, but Okay, those colors are pretty so far. So let's do shadow green. Man, I'm tempted to do a little bit of this Forbidden Ruin, just a little bit. So many bubbles. Okay, just a little for fun. All right, shadow green. I had to thin it down so it's also full of bubbles. But this should work better because our paints are a little thinner and we won't have such a mound of puddled color. Probably should have been a little bit more sparing with the shadow green. Every time I see it on top of these colors, I'm like, it looks like army green. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but wouldn't necessarily be what I was going for, you know? But that's okay. All right, obviously I have a lot of huge bubbles I just popped in there. All right, let's go again. I want to zoom you in, but I have paint on my hands. All right. I'm going to use slightly too much just to give me enough room. All right. Okay, that was a lot easier, but I did still mess up. Ooh, and I'm lightheaded, so let me gain my wits about me. So this part is the part that I messed up. It's not perfect, but I think we're still okay. We still have some pockets of Cell Activator here and here. I think I'm gonna leave those. Yikes. Okay, let me look at it while I get a couple of these really obvious bubbles. And the center got a little crazy, me trying to fix that one part where I didn't blow it out quite right. But overall, we have pretty decent coverage. So, trying to make sure we don't have any, we have a ton of bubbles, but I'm just trying to figure out the ones that we actually have to pay attention to up front before we spin it. Okay. Is the whole thing moving? Not quite. All right, let's see. I don't know if I need to mess with the edges or not. This is kind of crazy. That didn't help. Like, part of me wants to keep some of those cool edges, but then part of me sees that there's some that didn't go so well. And so I'm like, nah, full coverage. Sometimes it's like you get some breakthrough in a bloom and then you want to like solve all of the problems. And that may not be the most reasonable expectation, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, maybe I can actually try to do a bloom with some negative space so I can see the pretty cool petals. But I'm like, you know, let's focus on one thing at a time. And if we have a happy accident, we have one, you know? Like I said, they're hard. I applaud the people who just catch on and just never have any trouble. That's not me. But I am determined. I'm pretty annoying about the process sometimes because I like to be good at things like immediately is really what works for me. But that's not how art is. So my poor little tweezers, bubble poppers, they don't even pinch anymore. So I'm starting to see kind of what I wanted to see. I'm going to give it a little bit more of an aggressive spin here. It's better. It's definitely better. I honestly would also like to see, I like it with the Forbidden Ruin, but I also think I would like to see these same colors without it. Because I think, obviously, it's going to add an element of like, kablamo, you know? But I also really like this. Just kind of the softness of the yellow underneath, those beautiful colors together. So I may, depending on how much time this takes, I may do another one and just omit the Forbidden Ruin and see what the difference is. There's some really beautiful cells and lacing right here. There are some places where the cells and lacing are not my favorite, and it's because I had to like rescue the blowout a little bit. But some of them, like there's some really beautiful like peacock cells over here. So some of it's just gorgeous. Sorry about the blowing, guys. My gloves are covered. I'm covered. I'm just gonna have to take them off in a second, but I need to deal with some of these and I can't get to them. I can't pause you. There's absolutely no way I can pause you right now. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to pop them, but I'm gonna have to pop them after we blow it all the way out. Oh, I just got paint on one of my lids. So some really cool stuff. Definitely really cool stuff. There's some parts of the Cell Activator that are kind of wonky, and again, it's because of the parts that didn't get blown out perfectly, but is it worth keeping? I think so. You'll have to let me know. It's definitely better than the first one, so I am glad we scraped the first one. So for the sake of time, if I do another one, it will be a following video because there's no way that I would ask you guys to hang out this long. So I'm gonna show you a close-up. I'm gonna pop some of these things off camera. My gloves are covered, so then I'm gonna show you a close-up, and hopefully this video is not so long where you'll see the fail and the success, so you can learn from what I did wrong. And then look for a future video. If I have another go of these, it'll be a separate video. Okay, so there's a lot I like about it, and there's some things I don't like, but for now we're gonna let it live. So these beautiful little cells right here are lots of fun. I really like this, and we would see more of this if I use less color and omit the Forbidden Ruin next time. Love these cells right here. So they're really cool. This up here, also really beautiful. Where we have some overstretching, the cells and the lacing are less well-shaped. A lot of that's because I kind of messed up on that latter part of the blow. And the center's a little wonky, but if I look at the whole thing, the center doesn't really bother me. But this is kind of what I'm talking about. When you get some Cell Activator in the center and you try to blow it really quickly, sometimes it tries to travel. And that doesn't always happen to me, and I don't exactly know what the culprit is, but when it does happen, it's really annoying. Anyway, let me know what you think. Would you save this one? Would you resin it? Would you let it live? And I may do the other colors I talked about in another video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.